The more you have peace, the more you have prosperity in the Middle East, the more secure America is as well. There's deep American interest in making sure that happens. And the Abraham Accords were a remarkable outcome of the United States doing hard work to make sure everybody understood that we'd be with Israel, that we would help the Arab states be successful as well, the Gulf Arab states, and that we understood Iran as the problem child in the Middle East.
Big deal. So here's just a quick background so you know what just happened in Iran and why Mike Pompeo is on Fox yapping about what just happened. So Iranian-backed militias basically just used drones to attack a U.S. facility. It injured about 6 Americans and killed 1 American contractor. That's devastating. We don't want to hear about American deaths. We really don't want to hear about any deaths worldwide, but certainly American deaths generally require some sort of counterattack. And we did counterattack here. The U.S. accused Iran of backing the attack, so we sent 2 F-15s to bomb sites that were used by allegedly Iranian-backed forces in Syria. After that, because apparently that wasn't enough to actually, deter further attacks on Americans, you ended up having militants fire 10 rockets at a second military base in eastern Syria excuse me, that the United States operates. One of those 10 rockets ended up missing the base by 3 miles. So it probably missed it by feet, but then it just kept traveling. Injured 2 women and 2 children. So it shows you the militants who are attacking these American bases just don't care about America responding. And that made me wonder why. Why would militants actually shoot rockets at America? Wouldn't we turn around and absolutely level them for that? Well, apparently, no. See, American retreat actually has more serious consequences in what happens in a region because it leaves a power vacuum. And when we retreated out of Afghanistan, we actually told the world, and we left the power vacuum that we did, we told the world, you know what, we're just not going to get involved. Now, this video isn't to say whether we should or should not have retreated from Afghanistan. After all, it was a 20-year, very expensive war, and the Afghans didn't want us there. But what's important is that what happens after a power, a hegemon, leaves a region? Well, you have something known as a power vacuum. A good way to think about a power vacuum is like a black hole. So think about a really powerful star, like a sun. It's really strong and really powerful, and when you look at it, you're like, oh man, it's strong. Like, I don't want to attack that star because it's way more powerful than me. America, in this case, being the star. Well, when that star collapses or goes away in a region, it actually creates a black hole that sucks everything into the void that it left. Well, that's exactly what happens with hegemonic power, regional power players as well. When one party leaves, the next strongest party players leave or enter and fill the void. Leaving Afghanistan was basically like a bat signal screaming, don't worry, Biden's no longer going to get involved in other international affairs. We're just going to leave a power vacuum. So what happened in Afghanistan? The Taliban took over within days. That is everything that we established, the military equipment, tanks, Humvees, ammunition that we left behind are now all controlled by the Taliban, a clear terrorist organization that hates Americans. So, the Wall Street Journal editorial board actually takes this one step further, and they suggest that Biden's position of leaving power vacuums and not responding to aggression actually opened the door to Putin invading Ukraine. Now, people on the left say that's ridiculous. Putin would have invaded Ukraine anyway. People on the right say, wrong, if we still had Donald Trump, Putin would have never invaded Ukraine because Putin either A, respected, or B, feared Trump. Now, Iranian-backed militants are testing our military. Listen to this. Out of 78 attacks on our military, guess how many times the United States has officially responded to attacks against our American heroes in the Middle East? Seriously, think about that for a moment, okay? Think about what I just asked you. Out of 78 times, okay? 78 times since 2021, since we left Afghanistan, 78 times. How many times that we've been attacked have we actually responded? 100? 78? 70? No, folks. Under the Biden administration, we have responded 3 times. That's it. We've been attacked 78 times in the last 2 years since we've left Afghanistan, so a little less than 2 years. We've been attacked 78 times, and we've responded 3 times. Insurgents don't care. They think we are a joke. This is embarrassing to our military. It's an insult to the heroes fighting for our freedom. It's like sending our army into the Middle East to create stability where they are. They're not actually really occupying and creating stability. The contractors and servicemen and women that we have in the Middle East are fighting insurgency, at least, and exercising missions. They're not pulling a Vietnam or Afghanistan. They're fighting insurgency. At least, so we're told. But anyway, the militias in Syria do not seem to care because they basically see our military as saying, don't worry, just ignore it. We don't want the politics of us getting involved too much being an issue right now. And to me, that's really embarrassing. That's an embarrassing side of being an American because I think America is exceptional. And it's important to remember that Iran is a nuclear power. They are supplying suicide drones to Russia. Iran arms militants in the region, specifically Houthi rebels who attack Saudi Arabia. And what do we say to the Saudis? We just can't really help as much as we used to. So what a surprise then that the Saudis are starting to distance themselves from America, now using the Chinese yuan for some oil contracts. The Saudis are losing respect for America because we're not helping the region in a way that we used to. In fact, we're letting militants fire rockets at our bases, and we're not even responding. This is disgraceful, especially when Iran is flagrantly violating the treaties that we have with them. Consider the following. In Iran, you have enrichment limitations set by agreement with the IAEA, that is the International Atomic Energy Agency. And in a recent inspection in Iran, they found traces of uranium that were way too pure for civilian use. That restricted level, by the way, is 60% purity. Anything above 60% pure uranium starts getting close to the threshold to actually make a nuclear bomb. That level is 90%. And the IAEA found uranium sitting at 83.7% enriched in Iran. And that's only what they found because the IAEA doesn't get invited everywhere within Iran. So this really implies that Iran is still working on enriching nuclear-grade uranium. At the same time, Iran is actually becoming more of a power player in the region. And this is also very concerning because really, they're a state sponsor of terrorism. Look at this particular chart that I'm going to show you right here. It's not working. Input select. There we go. Look at this chart. What does this chart show you? It shows you the International North-South Transport Corridor. So the usual way to get goods and services from India up to Europe or Russia would actually be, I should not put myself there. Let's put myself, try to, there. No, that's not the right screen. Sorry, I'm using a new switchboard here and screwing it up. I'll just hide for a sec. Anyway, the usual way to get goods to Russia would be around this way because you would avoid going through Iran from India. Well, that's a substantially longer way than just going through Iran. And so now all of a sudden Iran is becoming a more powerful player in the region by actually enabling substantial trade through what's known as the International North-South Transport Corridor. That project is also going to benefit substantially from now improved relations between Saudi Arabia and Iran, because even though Iran has been arming Houthis who have attacked Saudi Arabia realizes that Iran is a power player in the region. And ultimately what we have to do is recognize that crap, if the United States is going to help the region less, and they're not even going to respond to threats, then maybe Saudi Arabia has to align with people in the region, like Iran. Now, Iranian infrastructure remains a major obstacle for these trade routes actually reaching their full potential. Much of these transit areas rely on roads that are really crappy and railways that are terrible. You think our railways are bad in America? Just look at them over there. They're even worse. But the point is, China, Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Russia are all getting stronger. At the same time, people make the argument that America is getting weaker, that we're getting pushed out of control in the Middle East, and that this is dangerous for the United States long term. After all, China was the mediator in negotiating a deal between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Remember, Iran used to attack Saudi Arabia, and now China's negotiating deals for them too. It's the first restoration of diplomacy in 7 years. Iran just signed a 25-year partnership with China as well. And the goal is basically telling the United States, we don't need you. China, it gets discounted oil. Iran gets investments from China, although the trade balance is a little uneven. China is getting more of a benefit than Iran is. Russia is now Iran's largest investor. You've got pretty weak economies overall. The United States still dominates from an economic point of view, but our 900 soldiers in Syria and 2,500 soldiers in Iraq battling the remnant ISIS are really getting no support from our politicians. So the question now is our deterrence in the Middle East too weak? Is our presidency too weak? Should we be tougher? And the question then is, well, if Iran is enriching nuclear weapons, does it make sense to potentially attack Iran and bomb these nuclear weapons enriching facilities? Maybe, but does that then just embolden Iran to actually just dig deeper and build their bunkers even deeper out of the range of bombs and continue enriching nuclear weapons? It's entirely possible. It's basically like a North Korea over there. So bombing isn't a great tool. Usually the good tool was trying to be a regional power player where you strike deals with all the countries around Iran to limit the power of Iran. I mean, consider it. Deals with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, deals with Israel, of course. Being in Afghanistan or Iraq gave the United States a lot of power around Iran. Now we're pretty much gone out of all of these areas. We can't even respond to but 3 out of 78 attacks against Americans. So it's no surprise that Iran is becoming a larger power player and is partnering with Russia and China, which is scary in the long term. Now, practically, how does this affect us as Americans, sort of in our daily lives? Well, little now, but it's going to become very important for future presidential elections because the stronger Russia becomes, the stronger China becomes, and the stronger Iran becomes, the weaker, relatively, the United States becomes. So long term, it's actually a serious issue that we should be paying attention to. And hopefully it motivates you to check out the links down below for the programs on building your wealth so you can make sure you become a millionaire by building your wealth as fast as possible by investing in real estate in the next real estate crash. Check out the Zero to Millionaire Real Estate Investing Program. Check out the Buy Now, Pay Later services for those as well, linked down below. Check out the Stocks and Psychology and Money Group. Then the sponsors, metkevin.com/life and metkevin.com/free to get yourself 12 free stocks and life insurance in as little as 5 minutes.